I don't know anyone who doesn't have imposter syndrome. Maybe some exceptions, but exceptions prove the rule. Remind myself every day of the small wins. Literally writing down, this is what went well. You have to have confidence if you want to have a seat at the table. And if you don't have it, fake it. Prepare beforehand. Go and talk to other people that have done it. Oh my God, I've achieved so much. Why was I even worried? It's very exciting. I'm very excited for this project of yours.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm being the first person that you're interviewing as well. Such an honor. Oh yeah, you're gonna do amazingly well. She's gonna be doing amazingly well. You'll see it. That's a very good question. Where do I see the industry going forward? Definitely marketing is evolving, and I would probably say that it's evolving towards a more data-driven approach. I would also say that probably it's not that it's evolving to that direction, it's more that the perception of marketing is changing. I'm surrounded by marketeers that are already data-driven. They're looking at marketing tech stack. They're always looking at ROI and how marketing can deliver revenue to the business. I just think that currently the perception of marketing is still that we are delivering fluffy things and we are not important. So I think this trend of going into more data, into more tech support for marketing, into more revenue-driven mindset is going to, of course, evolve, but also the perception of us as marketeers is going to evolve as well. I think the generational divide, it's definitely there. I'm actually very glad that Gen Zs are actually entering the workforce now, and they're revolutionizing it. They're coming with a fresh look at what work is, and they're coming with the mindset that we're not 120% just work. We actually are individuals outside work as well. So how do we combine work with our personal lives to remain very kind of wholesome individuals? And initially, when I started working with Gen Zs, of course, for me, it was unexpected. Oh my God, why is Gen Z employee doesn't work as much as a millennial employee? But with time, I've learned that actually we should be able to set boundaries at work. We should be able to be as efficient as possible within kind of our set times. Of course, there are exceptions, but companies are responsible for the well-being of the employees, and we are responsible to give our best within that time. And this is what I actually learned from Gen Zs, and I think it's only the benefit that they're joining us. Having emotions as a leader is actually quite interesting, purely from the perspective that everyone always has higher expectations of you as a leader. You're the one that got to this position, therefore you should be having better emotional intelligence. You are in full control all the time. Nothing can ever bother you. The reality is leaders are also humans. And as like everyone else, we do have these emotions. We just got better at hiding them. So my advice for all leaders and future leaders is to learn how to not take things personally. It's never about you as a leader. It's always about the circumstance. It's always about the situation. And if you don't take it personally, then you look at it as an experience that you can learn from to do better next time, rather than, oh my God, I did something wrong. I'm not saying that I've arrived to this kind of piece of wisdom very quickly. It took me multiple experiences to get to this. And then secondly, of course, is finding outlets to release these emotions. Anything that makes you happy, anything, sports, meeting your friends, but also creating culture on your team where you can actually share these emotions together and be vulnerable. We have quarterly retro sessions where we all sit down, we talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and we are way more open about our emotions in those sessions. I believe that you can build very strong respectful relationships with your team, but I probably do not believe in incredibly close friendships because you need to set certain boundaries. purely because in a professional setting, you should be able to give feedback, to not take things personally. And when the relationship is too friendly, too close, things can get a bit muddy. Now, I think if two people are incredibly emotionally intelligent and they kind of set the boundaries, they accept it and they don't kind of mix personal with professional, then probably that is possible. And I'm not excluding it. I'm definitely open-minded for it. When I realized that I could actually do this job was about a year ago when, or actually more than a year ago, when brief recruiters reached out to me for the role. When I first started interviewing for it, I was like, I'm just going to go for it for experience. Even though I was incredibly qualified for the role, I had all the experience before without the title. The title itself really scared me. And I was incredibly lucky to have a very strong support system around me that actually pushed me and opened my eyes towards, you know what, it's just a title. If you remove the title, can you do this role or not? This is the question you want to answer. If it scares you, if there are some things that you haven't done, that's fine. You should never move to a different role when you know it 120%. So having this support system, being very frank with myself, how much of the role I know, how much do I need to learn, am I ready to take on it or not? And this kind of thinking process helped me and gave me the confidence to step into the role. And I encourage absolutely everyone to think from this perspective as well. It's always scary to move roles. It's always scary to move to a higher role with more responsibility. But if you actually go and look at the fundamentals, can you do the job? How much do you know or you don't know? If you don't know, can you learn? This is kind of enough for you to make the decision. Everything else, you're going to figure it out. When it comes to fostering feedback-driven culture, number one thing that you need to remember is, do you actually have a safe environment in your team? If it's not safe in your team to share thoughts or opinions, by default, you're not able to create a feedback-driven culture. And then secondly is, are you leading by example or not? If you're not leading by example, no one on your team are going to follow suit. So number one is, make sure that you create process in your team where people are able to share feedback. So as an example, in my situation, I'm incredibly open for my team to share one-on-one feedback with me. There are moments that when they're not comfortable doing that, and I totally recognize that. So I would actually schedule calls, open conversations where I would actually openly say, look, what can I do better for the team? What did I do wrong that I can learn from? Yeah. And by reacting in a very emotionally intelligent way with those conversations, being curious about their feedback, makes them a bit more comfortable about it. Now it's, how do they give feedback to each other as well? How, I'm not in those rooms when they are talking, you know, so how do I do that? Is always in every single meeting really mentioning, how can we actually grow together? We are making a disservice to our peer by not telling them where they can improve or where they can do better. Move quickly, experiment. You're never going to know the answer. You always have to experiment and be bold and just move quickly about this experiment. How many people are going to continue growing after interacting with me or working with my team? So reminding this, it's a very important step in creating that culture. It doesn't come very quickly. It's a process, but we need to be patient and just continuously communicate it. Of course, I experienced imposter syndrome. I don't know anyone who doesn't have imposter syndrome. Maybe some exceptions, but exceptions prove the rule. I experienced it because it was a step up for me. It was my first CMO role. It was a new company. It was a completely different challenge. And every day I would be absolutely shocked by everything I had to fix. Again, for me, the most important breakthrough to get rid of the imposter syndrome was to remind myself every day of the small wins. Yeah, literally writing down, this is what went well. Yeah, and then when it didn't go well, just write it down. This didn't go well. What I can do better next time. And then next time it actually goes better, and then they're writing it as a win. I was like, okay, it's just a problem, or it's just a challenge that needs to be solved. Secondly, it's community has been important for me in getting rid of my imposter syndrome. It's when you talk to your peers in other businesses doing the same job, you actually discover that everyone is facing the same challenges. Everyone wakes up and doesn't know what they're doing, but everyone survives and everyone does a great job. We're always going to feel imposter syndrome when we are out of our comfort zone. You can call it imposter syndrome. Some people will call it general discomfort. Some people say that they are scared. Like this emotion, we're just bundling it within one term. The reality is you look retrospectively a year later and you realize, oh my God, I've achieved so much. Why was I even worried? So this mindset of looking into the future is like, in a year's time, I know I'm going to be better. So why am I worried right now? If we look at what is imposter syndrome, what is the definition of it? You don't deserve to be where you are. But then somehow you did get the job. There is probably a very thorough interview process that you went through. You had numbers to share. You had previous experiences. You had previous successes. So why do you think that you don't deserve to be in that role if everyone else thinks that you do? So this is a question is more like it's internal and we need to answer it, and we need to always be very proactive about writing down or talking to people or having a support system to tell you about how amazing you are, to really convince us of this. Because the worst that can happen, even if you fail, it's going to be just one failure. It's fine. You're going to grow and get to doing something else instead afterwards. I always tell advisors, I always tell startup founders, and not only, everyone I talk to, move quickly, experiment. You're never going to know the answer. You always have to experiment and be bold and just move quickly about this experimentation. And I think when looking back at my career, this is how I approach my life as well. I never had in my head a certain career trajectory that I wanted to go on. I was always open for everything. I started my career in PR, and then I went into marketing communications, and then I just did marketing and growth marketing, and somehow I got to the point of being a CMO. But this has never been my final point, like my final destination. The recommendation I'm giving everyone when they're thinking about their careers is to be open to opportunities. You never know whether the best opportunity is going to come around, but make sure you have some data to show you that this opportunity is going to be at least good. Yeah, because when you do experimentation, you always have kind of leading indicators or leading data to tell you, okay, you should be doing it or not. The same is with the career. Look at the signals. Is it the right company? Is it the right culture? What would be the opportunities that would come after that first opportunity that you're taking? And just go for it. Yeah. But is it the CMO or CRO or VP of marketing somewhere or head of marketing elsewhere? Title doesn't really matter. It's what is the context of the title that is going to give you way more in the future. And this is how I approach my career. And I'm delighted to be in the CMO role at the moment, absolutely loving it. But what comes next, I have no idea. I might stay in the CMO role forever, or I might just go to something else. Actually, the future does excite me a lot. And I believe the future is bright compared to so many other people don't. Purely because I'm a great believer of whatever happens for a reason. Yeah. And I don't necessarily have huge professional goals, but a kind of Venn diagram between professional and personal. I'm very excited to grow people and teams. Yeah. I'm so excited to see when someone on my team finds their calling, finds the job that they like, they're really thriving in it, they're learning. And by supporting them, I'm supporting their future careers. And for me, what I realized this year is that moving forward, I want to impact more lives and I want people to be proud to be working on my teams, that this is what I want to do more of. How this is going to span in the future, I don't know. But it's definitely something that I'm very passionate about. I'm open to mentorship, and I had mentored before younger ladies. What I realized is the mentee has to be as passionate about their future as the mentor is for their careers. Because I've mentored girls that were incredibly passionate, very inquisitive, proactive in conversations. And I've mentored girls that, not only girls, but like just not as passionate about certain things. So I think there's time for mentorship for certain people, but there's also time when they're not ready for mentorship. So it's a wasted opportunity for both the mentor and the mentee. The most common mistake that female founders do is pitching with no confidence. You have to have confidence if you want to have a seat at the table. And if you don't have it, fake it. Prepare beforehand. Go and talk to other people that have done it, and just go with your foot in the door and pitch confidently. I know female founders that have done amazing in these regards, and they have now thriving businesses. And I also know that they're using their feminine approaches in these conversations in a way better way. So it's all down to confidence. It's all in our hand. We talked about imposter syndrome, about other things. They're all in, literally all stopping us from achieving success. Different people need different approaches, because the lack of confidence probably comes from their own experiences. I'm going to speak only from my experience. It's all about practice. The more pitching you do, the more you present to, I don't know, senior leaders, or the more you try to convince your team to follow you, the more confidence you're going to be getting out of it. And number two is understanding where the lack of confidence is coming from and working on it with the therapist, with the coach, with the mentor, and not stopping and just learning, but also applying it into practice again and again and again. And with time, you're just going to get better. It doesn't come overnight. This is what I want to say, is that the trajectory to becoming a leader is not an overnight thing. No one is born to become a leader. You actually have to actively learn and improve to be that person that you want to be. I didn't necessarily have a key sponsor, or I didn't know that I had it. Maybe the person behind the doors advocated for me. But I definitely had incredible managers and leaders who mentored me and kind of helped me through certain decisions. And having this someone who is your cheerleader in a business, not outside the business, it's incredibly useful, because they understand the ecosystem you're working in. They see you working, they believe in you. So their opinion is a bit more closer to home. They're like, you know what, I'm going to cheer for you because you're amazing, because I'm seeing what you're doing. It's not something that you leave the walls of your office and then you go and tell your friends about it and they're like, oh yeah, you're great. No, there's someone who's actually observing rather than you saying things. So this is incredibly empowering. And the way to build these relationships, you have to be proactive about it. Some relationships happen very naturally, but the reality is sometimes it's down to just asking, hey, I would like to meet you every month for an hour to discuss certain things. And this is what I would like to work on, or this is what I would like to learn from you. And this has been game changing, because especially when you're a junior person, you don't have the opportunity to learn within your role all about the next steps or the senior kind of behaviors. So you can actually learn from someone who is a bit more senior from you, from their experiences, what they tell you, so that when the situation comes that you are going to be, I don't know, in that room surrounded by senior leaders and you being a senior leader, you already are going to have some theoretical knowledge about the situation. So yeah, proactivity in reaching out and asking for help and for mentorship is game changing. When I was choosing the people I wanted to be mentored by, I chose people that I admire. And it's very important to go after these people rather than someone with a certain title, because you have to be aligned in terms of values with that person. Yeah, I admired people because of how they led teams, because of their successes, how they handled the difficult situation, how they handled the room. And these were the elements that attracted me to them. Yeah, like I actually want to learn more about that. I'm not that good at that. I want to learn about it. Very often, title doesn't equal with all these boxes being ticked. I've met leaders that were completely horrendous and didn't know any of these things, and you're like questioning yourself, how did they even get to those positions? So it is very important that you pick someone that, imagine, like, if you were like this person in 2-3 years time, would you be happy or not? If you answer that yes, I actually really want to be that person in 2-3 years time, then probably they're a good person to keep in touch with. So the way I define success today is different. It has evolved. When I was younger, it was all about working for a certain company or doing a certain kind of type of job or being in a certain city. Basic status was pretty much dominating my life. Now, however, I've completely shifted it. Yeah, it's great to have a title. It's great to work for an amazing company. But the question I was actually asked a few years ago is, when I'm on a deathbed, what I would be the most proud of when it comes to my career. And this actually opened my eyes to how I want the relationships I want to build and the people I want to impact in my day to day. So my success now has shifted from, oh yeah, I want to make as much money as I can, to how many people are going to continue growing after interacting with me or working with my team. And this is for me something that is close to my heart now. I'm not always getting it right, but it's something that I would stand by my team forever and ever. And I'm going to make sure they evolve and grow and become the best versions of themselves to achieve what they want to achieve for themselves, be it within my company or outside. I never take for granted what I've achieved. I've started believing that the things that I have, I deserve. But they did come through hard work. And I don't know if it's an Eastern European kind of mindset or not, but if you want something in your life, you actually have to proactively go after it. I think, yeah, never stay passive, lounging on the couch thinking that the world is going to change. Just go and grab the opportunity. People don't really stop to reflect. People don't have time to stop to reflect on what they've achieved, especially when you're in a leadership position and every day is like go, 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 go. So some things that are coming naturally to me today, I don't really think about it as, oh my God, like I've done this, or I'm thinking this way, or my behaviors have changed. It's always, this transition always happens when you don't notice it. And what I need to remind myself is, because I'm thinking in a certain way today, I'm holding other people accountable, or kind of thinking in the same way. So how can you not think in the same way? But I always forget that I went through the same process. You just need to have the certain experiences to arrive to a certain type of thinking or of being. And yes, totally don't take the time to reflect. And something that I definitely should be doing more.